So Trump is planning to appeal this $355 million fine that Judge Engoron handed down last week. And now he wants Judge Engoron and Letitia James to define the word fraud. Remember, there was no victim here. And you have to prove in a civil trial that damages were inflicted on somebody. Let's say you ruined their reputation. Some type of financial harm was caused them to lose money with their business. But there was no victim here. And I've said this all along here on the channel, whether it be January 6th or the civil trials, you have to show that Trump had intent to commit, let's say, insurrection, or that he intended to inflict harm, commit fraud here in New York. But there was no victim here. Keep that in mind, no victim here. So there's an article about this at the New York Post I want to share with you. This is by Victor Nava, last name Nava. This came out yesterday, February 19th, coincidentally on President's Day. Trump will dispute New York City judge's definition of fraud and appeal a $355 million fine, according to a report. And I'll just read through the article. We'll analyze it as we go. By the way, welcome back to the channel, Culture Confederacy. Here it's Tuesday. Thank you again for watching, subscribing, being a part of this thing called the Culture Confederacy. Former President Donald Trump will contest Manhattan Supreme Court Justice Arthur Engoron's definition of fraud when he appeals the $355 million judgment made against him last week in the civil trial, according to his lawyer. Quote, the case raises serious legal and constitutional questions regarding fraud claims, findings without any actual fraud, Trump's attorney Christopher Kise told Newsweek Monday. Now, Kise further charged that Engoron, and that's, like I said, what you got to prove here. And you've got to show the definition of fraud. Did Trump, whatever Trump did it constitute fraud? Seems to be the one thing missing in this case. Kise further charged that Engoron and New York Attorney General Letitia James, both Democrats, are attempting to force Trump out of New York to the detriment of the city. And I'm sure, because there's been a lot of rumblings about this after this verdict, you're going to have a lot of these businesses that are going to make a mass exit out of New York. Remember I talked about yesterday how you had this trucker out there, or there was this group called Truckers for Trump that were planning to boycott New York City. Well, that's fallen apart. Can you imagine if they did? They'd lose a lot of money in New York. But they're going to lose a lot of money, I guarantee you, by a lot of businesses who support Trump or people who aren't going for this or planning to leave New York. They're going to lose a lot of money. $355 million we're talking about. $355 million. Now, Trump's got to pay, I think, about $500 million, like $450 million or something, before he can even appeal this. This is insanity, pure insanity. So it goes on to say here, the lawyer did not specify exactly when an appeal would be filed, noting that the timing, quote, will depend on many factors, but will fall within the 30-day clock allowed by the court, according to New York Post. And they've got pictures of Trump and Engoron here, who, by the way, was a former cab driver. How many people did he overcharge for the cab rides in his cab? On Friday, Engoron, a 74-year-old cab driver turned judge, ordered Trump 77 to pay the massive fine and barred the former president's sons, Donald Trump Jr. and Eric Trump, from doing business in the state for 2 to 3 years after finding that the Trump organization overvalued assets to secure loans and deals from banks and insurers in the Empire State. But this is not an uncommon practice in the real estate industry. You slightly overinflate your property so you can go to the bank and negotiate a loan, and the bank tells you what the value of the property is, or the loan is that they're going to be willing to give you here based on their assessment. You have like 3 or 4 appraisers go out and look at the property, and then they come to a decision at that point. The judge's verdict also ordered Donald Trump Jr. and Eric Trump to pay $4 million apiece and banned the Trump Organization executives Alan Weisselberg and Jeff McConney from serving as company officers for 3 years. Trump's appeal will need to demonstrate that James does not possess the power to punish him, quote, without showing the traditional elements of fraud. And this is key here. You've got to show that there was this intent to defraud, false statements of fact rather than opinion, or trade puffing, reasonable reliance by the victims, materiality, causation, and damages. This, according to Syracuse University of Law professor Greg Germain, who also spoke with Newsweek. So I think this article, New York Post via Newsweek. Quote, I think he has a strong argument that when the Attorney General seeks to punish for past use rather than prevent future use, she would have to show all the traditional elements of fraud, although she doesn't necessarily have to show all of these elements. Just a couple of these elements show that Trump committed fraud in New York. But again, no victim here. So without any victim, how can you prove there's fraud? The New York City Attorney General is likely to counter that under state law. Her broad powers to investigate and prosecute cases of alleged civil fraud don't require her to prove, as I said, that all 6 elements exist, according to Germain. And they've got a picture of Letitia James here. I swear, these diversity hires, they all look like diversity hires. It's like Fannie Willis down in Georgia. Quote, New York City Executive Law 6312, that's in parentheses, does not require a victim. Traditional elements of fraud are eliminated. The only such law, the law allows a politically elected partisan prosecutor to convince a politically elected judge who may be friends to destroy even a political opponent, Trump posted on Truth Social. This law may not be constitutional and is not fair, and that's in bold type, or in all caps rather. And that is why terrible A.G. James chose to use it against me, Trump raged on Truth Social. So I thought I'd share this with you, a story at the New York Post by way of Newsweek. Trump is going to appeal this $355 million fine, but he's got to dish out like $450 million to start with before he can even appeal. This is crazy, absolutely crazy. And you wait and see. You're going to see all these businesses start leaving New York. Thank you, Judge Engoron. Another round of applause to Judge Engoron. What a stooge. I mean, what a stooge. So I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, you know what to do. You can also follow me at Instagram, hashtag Jason Composes. Almost swallowed some air there. Hashtag Jason Composes, because I write music in my spare time. Or you can find me at X, Culture Confederacy, at Culture Confed1 on X. This is the Culture Confederacy saying peace out. Stay safe, everybody. God bless this thing called the United States. Another one-take video. I'll catch you next time, and y'all have a great Tuesday.